How many times have you smiled when you didn't feel like it? How often have you nodded along, pretending to agree, just to avoid the awkward silence? What if I told you that the very act of fitting in is slowly chipping away at the essence of who you are? What if your constant desire to blend into the background, to be accepted, is actually the very thing keeping you from living authentically? We've all been there, sitting in a conversation that feels more like a performance than a connection, laughing at jokes we don't find funny, participating in rituals we don't understand, all for the sake of looking normal, of looking acceptable. But have you ever stopped to wonder, acceptable to whom? The truth is, most of us are walking through life on autopilot, guided by a script that society wrote for us long ago. From the way we dress, to the words we speak, to the friendships we cultivate, we're constantly measuring ourselves against an invisible standard of normal. And yet, deep inside, doesn't something feel off? You might not even realize it, but something about these social interactions feels empty. It's as though every conversation is a transaction, and every gesture has an agenda: validation, approval, belonging. It's all just a performance. And the worst part? We've all bought into it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more we seek to fit in, the more we lose sight of who we really are. And that, my friend, is the great tragedy of modern life. Most of us have become so adept at pretending, so skilled at playing the game, that we forget there's an alternative, an escape route, the power to stop performing, to stop chasing approval, to stop seeking validation from others. The path to our true freedom doesn't lie in blending in. It lies in embracing solitude, in choosing introspection over external noise, and in realizing that self-validation is the ultimate form of power. This isn't about rejecting society, but about rejecting the need for it to define you. The more you step away from the expectations of others, the closer you come to realizing your true self, and that right there is where your freedom begins. Arthur Schopenhauer once said that most people are trapped in a farce, a play in which they endlessly perform roles they don't truly believe in, simply to gain the approval of others. He wasn't just talking about the surface-level performances we see in our daily lives. He was pointing to the deeper, more insidious truth. Most of us live inauthentic lives, constantly seeking validation, not for the purpose of self-expression, but for societal acceptance. We dress the way we are expected, speak the way we are told to, and act according to norms that have little to do with our true selves. All of this is in service of an invisible game, the game of belonging, of being seen, of not standing out too much. Schopenhauer saw this cycle clearly. He understood that the more we conform, the less we are actually living for ourselves. We live for the gaze of others, shaped by their judgments and expectations. In his view, the pursuit of acceptance isn't just a superficial desire, it's a form of mental slavery. The more we chase it, the less we live authentically, and the more we disconnect from our own values, truths, and desires. Think about your own life. How often do you engage in conversations simply to avoid silence? How many times have you laughed at a joke that didn't even amuse you, just to avoid being seen as the odd one out? Or maybe you've sat through endless small talk at a party, nodding along, feeling the dull weight of the conversation, but choosing to stay silent to maintain your social image. These interactions aren't just trivial. They are microcosms of a much larger problem: society's obsession with connection for connection's sake, no matter how hollow it may feel. The next time you're at a social gathering, take a moment to really listen to the conversations around you. How many of them are meaningful? How many are based on genuine connection and understanding? Or are most of them just repetitive, performative exchanges designed to maintain the appearance of civility, but devoid of substance? The uncomfortable truth is that we've been taught to value the act of fitting in more than the substance of the connection itself. We trade true, deep, meaningful relationships for shallow connections built on mutual agreements to follow the script. Now, I want you to pause and reflect. How many times have you participated in these interactions, even when you felt disconnected? How many times have you played along, pretending to enjoy something, agreeing with something, just to avoid looking rude or out of place? When was the last time you went through the motions, despite feeling emotionally detached from the experience? The more you observe, the more you'll realize how much of our social life is driven by the fear of not being accepted or being judged. And the sad part? Most of us don't even question it. We don't ask ourselves if these interactions are meaningful or if they reflect who we truly are. Instead, we simply go along with it because, for so long, we've been told that acceptance is the highest goal we can achieve. But in doing so, we've lost sight of what truly matters: our authenticity, our individuality, and our personal peace. What if, instead of seeking acceptance, we learned to stand alone? What if we stopped living for the applause of the crowd and started living for ourselves? This isn't about rejecting people or society. It's about rejecting the need to be validated by them. And that, my friend, is where true freedom begins. Schopenhauer's view on intelligence and society is blunt, yet strikingly honest. The smarter you are, the harder it becomes to fit in. For Schopenhauer, this wasn't just an observation, it was a tragedy of existence. He believed that the deeper you think, the less you are able to participate in the trivial rituals of society. Why? Because you start seeing what others are blind to. You see the hollow conversations, the inauthentic exchanges, the social games being played behind every smile. And with each passing moment, you feel further detached from the world around you. Social interactions, in Schopenhauer's eyes, are often performances. People dress, speak, and act not according to their true selves, but based on a script written by society: what's appropriate, what's expected, and what's acceptable. But when you begin to see beyond the surface, when you look deeper into the motivations and the actions of people, the social world becomes increasingly nonsensical. For those who think critically, for those who question everything, it's hard to keep pretending. The game loses its appeal, and fitting in becomes not only difficult, but pointless. Deep thinkers cannot help but wonder, why does this matter? This realization brings with it a deep psychological conflict. The more you understand about human nature, the more you begin to see that most relationships are based on superficial foundations. Friendships are often transactional, built on convenience or the need for validation rather than true mutual understanding. Small talk is a ritual to pass the time, a way to fill the space between people who are fundamentally alone in their thoughts. The realization that most interactions are meaningless can feel isolating and emotionally draining. The mind, craving depth, finds itself suffocating in a sea of shallow conversations and empty gestures. This is where loneliness comes in. At first, it feels like a punishment, a void where you should have connection, but there is only emptiness. As you withdraw from the noise of society, as you stop playing the game, you begin to feel the sting of isolation. But here's the paradox. This very loneliness is the birthplace of clarity. The more you pull away, the more you begin to see the truth. You realize that most people, in their pursuit of validation, are caught in a cycle of mediocrity. They are not truly living. They are merely existing, filling their lives with distractions to avoid confronting the hollowness of their social world. As a result, you find yourself standing apart. You stop seeking approval from the crowd and start to realize that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's perception of you. You start to see that the high-value stance of your thoughts, your ideas, your authenticity is far greater than the fleeting approval you once craved. In this space of introspection, you become stronger, not weaker. The more you pull away from the superficial world, the clearer your path becomes. The loneliness that seemed like a punishment transforms into a privilege. The privilege of standing in your truth, of not being bound by the need to conform. And while others may feel threatened by your detachment, by your refusal to play the game, you will find that self-realization becomes a powerful ally. You've learned the most important lesson, that true connection doesn't come from fitting in, but from knowing yourself, from standing firm in your individuality, and from having the courage to reject the mediocrity of a world that values conformity over authenticity. Have you ever felt that gnawing desire to be seen, to be accepted, to be part of the group? In a world that thrives on connections, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from others. We've been taught that being accepted is one of life's greatest achievements, that social circles, friends, and external approval are the markers of success. But what if this pursuit of validation is, in reality, a trap? What if it's leading you down a path of self-sabotage? The more we seek external validation, the more we give away control of our own self-worth. Every time you adjust your thoughts, your actions, or your appearance to fit someone else's expectations, you lose a piece of yourself. It starts off small, a shift in your behavior to please a friend, a change in your opinions to fit in with your colleagues, a smile when you feel like frowning, just to avoid conflict. But over time, this continuous act of self-compromise chips away at your authenticity, your confidence, and your peace. You end up living for the approval of others, constantly performing, constantly adjusting, until you forget who you really are. You end up becoming a reflection of the world's expectations, not a true expression of your own thoughts and desires. What's worse is that validation seeking is an exhausting game that can never truly be won. Even when you receive approval, it's often fleeting. Another hit of dopamine, another moment of satisfaction, before the hunger for more returns. This cycle feeds itself. You give more of yourself and receive just enough praise to keep you playing the game. But the price is high. Each time you seek approval, you become more dependent on others' opinions, and the more you lose sight of your own values, your own instincts, and your own inner peace. This is the true cost of fitting in, the surrendering of your power and authenticity for a fleeting sense of belonging. But what if there was a way out? What if you could stop playing the game and reclaim your time, your peace, and your self-worth? The shift from fitting in to valuing your time and peace is a revolutionary act. It requires the courage to withdraw from the constant noise of social validation, to step back from the pressure to conform. It means saying no when you're expected to say yes, and choosing your own emotional well-being over the temporary approval of others. It's about realizing that your time here is more valuable than the pursuit of an image that doesn't reflect who you truly are. The decision to withdraw from the rat race of social validation often comes with a deep sense of loneliness. At first, it feels like a punishment, being left out, being excluded, not being invited to the next gathering, or not receiving the recognition you once craved. But this loneliness isn't a curse, it's a privilege, a space in which you can begin to rediscover your true self. When you stop seeking external validation, you free yourself from the constant noise that drowns out your inner voice. Loneliness in this context is not isolation. In this solitude, you have the opportunity for self-discovery. You begin to understand your own thoughts, your own desires, your own truths without the influence of others. You realize that in silence, you can hear yourself, your true self, free from the layers of social expectation. Loneliness becomes liberation, because it allows you to explore who you are when you're not trying to impress, fit in, or conform. It's in these quiet moments that your authenticity urban has space to breathe. The greatest irony is that true freedom comes when you stop worrying about being accepted. The more you withdraw from the need for approval, the more you find peace with yourself. And as you grow comfortable in your own skin, you'll realize that genuine connection only comes when you stop performing, when you stop trying to be someone you're not. The people who matter will be drawn to the real you, not the version of yourself you created for the world. Loneliness, when embraced as a privilege, becomes the pathway to inner peace, self-love, and authentic relationships that don't require validation to exist. In a world that thrives on constant noise, where everyone is shouting to be heard, silence becomes not just a refuge, but a powerful ally. Think about it. When was the last time you truly experienced silence? Not the absence of sound, but the quiet of your mind, unburdened by the constant chatter of social media, the pressure of conversations, or the relentless distractions of daily life. Is a form of power because it allows you to reclaim your inner space. In the absence of external noise, you are free to focus inward. Silence provides the mental clarity needed to reflect, to think deeply, and to make decisions that align with your true self. When you stop participating in the perpetual conversation society forces upon you, you begin to realize just how much energy you were expending to maintain a facade of connection. Silence, in this context, isn't passive. It's strategic. It's the space you need to reconnect with your essence, to find your own voice amidst the external noise, and to make conscious choices about how you engage with the world. Schopenhauer understood the power of silence and solitude better than most. Throughout his life, he distanced himself from the hustle of social expectations and the superficiality of public life. His retreat wasn't a rejection of society, but rather a strategy, a means to gain clarity and self-reflection. He chose a life of deep contemplation, spent mostly in solitude, because he understood that it was in these quiet moments, away from the distractions of the world, that real growth occurs. Schopenhauer didn't live in isolation because he hated people. He lived in solitude because he valued his mental space. His life choices exemplify the profound difference between solitude and isolation. The solitude he sought wasn't born out of bitterness or a desire to reject the world. It was a conscious decision to seek depth. Solitude is the choice to be alone with your thoughts, to detach from external pressures in order to engage with your inner world. It's a positive act, driven by the intention to understand yourself, refine your thoughts, and grow emotionally and spiritually. Solitude fosters creativity, introspection, and personal clarity. It is the foundation of unpersonal growth. On the other hand, isolation is born out of rejection, fear, or avoidance. It's when you withdraw, not because you are choosing yourself, but because you are fleeing from society, from connection, or from your own emotional vulnerabilities. Isolation stems from a place of lack, a feeling of being disconnected from the world, where you close yourself off in defense against perceived rejection or pain. Unlike solitude, isolation doesn't invite self-discovery or growth. It simply intensifies feelings of alienation and disconnection. So, while solitude is an empowering choice that leads to self-realization, isolation only leads to further emotional stagnation. The key is understanding that silence and solitude are not about distancing yourself from others out of bitterness or fear. They are about creating the mental and emotional space to rediscover your true self, to question the world around you, and to make decisions based on your authenticity, not societal expectations. In solitude, you reclaim your emotional independence, and it is in this space of quiet reflection that you can grow in ways that constant social interaction never allows. True freedom is not about doing whatever you want without consequences. It's about not needing anyone's approval to live the life you've chosen. The moment you stop worrying about what others think of you, you begin to make decisions based on your own values, not on the fear of disapproval. In a world that constantly demands conformity, true freedom comes when you stop being bound by the expectations of others. Think about it. How often do you make choices, big or small, based on what others might think? How many decisions do you regret, knowing you only made them because you were afraid of disappointing someone or being judged? The truth is, the more you rely on external validation, the less control you have over your own life. You are constantly living to please others, molding yourself to fit into a box that wasn't even designed by you. But when you free yourself from this constant need for approval, you reclaim your independence. You no longer live for others' opinions, and in that space, you discover the true power of autonomy. Independence is not just about being physically free. It's about emotionally detaching from the need to gain approval, about standing firm in your beliefs without needing the world to affirm them. True freedom is self-sufficiency. In your thoughts, decisions, and actions, without the constant weight of judgment pulling you in different directions. When you begin to live for yourself, not for others, you become an enigma, a person who cannot be easily understood or manipulated. Authenticity becomes your most powerful tool. The more you reject the need for approval, the more you attract those who value you for who you truly are, not for the persona you've created to fit in. People are drawn to authenticity, even if they don't always understand it. When you stop trying to fit into the mold that society expects of you, you stand out in the most magnetic way. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. In a world of mask-wearing and facade-building, someone who dares to be themselves is not only refreshing, but also deeply compelling. It's not about being liked by everyone. It's about being liked by the right people. Those who are drawn to your true self, rather than a false version of you, will become your genuine connections, your real support system. They see you for who you are and appreciate you, not because you met their expectations, but because you've embraced your own truth. Rejecting the need for approval forces you to reject the social norm. The norm that tells you to conform, to blend in, to chase the latest trends, or to adopt popular opinions for the sake of fitting in. But here's the thing. True self-empowerment lies in embracing the discomfort of standing out, in embracing the fear of being misunderstood, and in realizing that authenticity is far more powerful than conformity. Yes, it's uncomfortable to stop playing the game and to stop seeking validation from others, but that discomfort is where growth happens. When you reject the norms that society imposes on you, you free yourself from the trap of mediocrity. You stop living according to someone else's script, and you begin writing your own story. It's not about being rebellious for the sake of rebellion, it's about choosing authenticity over conformity, choosing truth over approval, and choosing freedom over fear. This kind of self-empowerment comes with a price. Some people won't understand, some relationships may fall away, and you may feel the sting of being misunderstood. But in the end, those are not losses, they are liberations. When you stop seeking validation, you step into a life that is fully your own, built on the foundation of your true self. Not in the approval of others, but in the unshakable confidence that comes from living authentically, unapologetically, and powerfully. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. How many times have you adjusted yourself just to fit into the mold that others expected of you? How often have you sought validation, approval, or recognition, even when it didn't align with your true self? Ask yourself, what has this pursuit cost you? Has it brought you peace, or has it only kept you trapped in a cycle of performance? What would it mean to stop participating in this social farce, to stop playing the game, and instead reclaim your power by choosing authenticity over acceptance? Imagine the freedom that would come with stopping the chase for validation. Picture a life where you are no longer bound by the opinions of others, where you can stand in your truth without fear of rejection. The first step is acknowledging that social approval is not the path to fulfillment. It's only when you stop seeking it that you begin to see the world clearly, free from the distractions of societal expectations. Choosing solitude and silence is not about withdrawing from life, but about stepping into a place of power. It's about knowing when to engage and when to move in the shadows. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. He wasn't a recluse by accident, but a strategist who understood that peace and clarity come from removing oneself from the noise. Solitude isn't isolation. It's a conscious choice to create space for self-reflection and self-growth. In silence, you hear your inner voice more clearly. In solitude, you connect more deeply with your true self. And in that connection, you find power that cannot be given or taken by anyone else. If you feel the shift happening within you, if you're beginning to understand the truth of this message, leave a comment below with the phrase, "Silence is power." Let it be a reminder to yourself and to others that the pursuit of validation is fleeting, but the power of silence is enduring. If this video resonated with you, subscribe for more thought-provoking content on independence, authenticity, and breaking free from the societal expectations that limit your growth. Together, we'll explore the path to true freedom, living a life built on self-awareness and self-respect. And now, as we close, I leave you with silence. Not as an ending, but as a powerful beginning. Let it linger. Let it make you think. Let it challenge you to walk your own path. The game is only over when you stop playing.